Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be previewing the NBA Conference Finals. We got the Conference Finals coming out starting tonight, and I am very excited for this. That's crazy. We're in the final 4 teams in the NBA right now. Crazy to think about that we're here. But yeah, we're going to preview that here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Link to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right to it. So we'll start out east with the Celtics and Pacers. And by the way, this is the second time I'm recording this video because I recorded this entire video, but it was on the wrong microphone. So I am just doing great today, huh? But conference finals basketball will make up for it. Celtics and Pacers. The Celtics, they defeated Miami in the first round in 5 games and then defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games in the second round. They've only lost 2 games going into the conference finals, man, for the Indiana Pacers. They defeated the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games and then defeated the New York Knicks in 7 games and have made it to the conference finals for the first time since 2014, I want to say. Just a very interesting matchup. Indiana Pacers in the conference finals is not something I could have thought about when we started this playoffs, but here we are. Boston, there's been a lot of talk about Boston so far in this playoffs, talking about they haven't looked like the amazing team that they have been. You know, they haven't been dominant. Jason Tatum hasn't been like a superstar, all this stuff. I hear all that. I understand kind of all that, but at the end of the day, they're winning. So does it really matter? They're winning games. They still have only lost 2 games so far in the playoffs. So, you know, we can say all that, yet they're still here. They're still in the conference finals. And now they're playing against the Indiana Pacers team. But they're definitely going to have to lock in defensively. There has been something I've seen so far in the playoffs that their defensive intensity has not really been there. They have given Miami once or twice in the series, Cleveland as well last series, without Donovan Mitchell for Game 4 and Game 5, they still allowed that to be a game until the last like maybe 7 minutes. So their defensive intensity has not been great because they can be, and they were one of the better defensive teams in the league, but their defensive intensity wasn't there all the time. And I think against an Indiana Pacers team like this, you can't really be doing that often because Indiana has the offense for the first time for the first opponent that you've played so far in this playoffs that has the offense to keep up and to if you're giving up shots, they're gonna be able to knock it down and they can get hot. So Boston needs to come with that. Remember, Indiana, there's been a lot of stuff said about Indiana as well. Their playoff run, they've had injury luck on their side with Milwaukee missing Giannis for the series and then Dame missing a couple games. The Knicks having all the injury problems they've had. You know, OG Anunoby goes down after Game 2. Jalen Brunson fractures his hand in Game 7. No Mitch Robinson, no Bogdanovich, no Julius Randle, all that stuff. Yes, you could say all that, but they still won. That's the thing for me. It's like Indiana can't really control the team they play against. Like, what's Indiana gonna do with the Knicks injuries? Be like, oh, we're forfeit? Like, no. Like, we have to play them. You know, they might be hurt, but that's our matchup. That's what we have to play, so we have to go out and play. And they won. They won. There's been so many times where other teams get injured and be like, oh, here we go, they're injured, and yet they lose. So Indiana still came out and still got business done and still won their series. So can't take that away from them, and they're in the conference finals. This is an interesting matchup to me because Indiana is very young, they're very inexperienced, their defense has been better, but still not amazing. Boston should be able to get this series over with like they did in the first 2 rounds. But the one thing Indiana has going for them is the offensive firepower. And if Boston is not completely locked in, Indiana could come out and have games like they did in Game 7 against New York, where they shot, 67% from the field or something like that. So they have the offensive firepower to come out and give you 125 points. You know, and the second thing they have right now is confidence. They have all the confidence in the world. They kind of know going into the series. Everybody in the world thinks Boston should destroy them in this series. So they have kind of the come out and just we have nothing to lose. You know, even if we do lose, hey, we were supposed to lose. We're not even supposed to be here right now. So we're just gonna come out and play and just, you know, go do it. So that's what they have on their side right now. Boston, I think one big thing for them in the series is that they need Tatum and Brown to be Tatum and Brown. Jaylen Brown has been good so far in the playoffs. He's had his moments. Tatum The last couple games in the Cleveland series, he started to show out. But I think those two kind of need to start being like, all right, let's be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Let's be the duo that can combine for 60 something points in this series. I think they have to establish themselves now because if they get to the finals and they still haven't really established that yet, it might be tough maybe to establish it in the finals. So I think they should take this series and kind of be like, all right, let's be the 1-2 punch that we know. Jason Tatum's gonna have some big performances. Brown have some big performances. And let's do that. I think another big thing for Boston in the series as well is the bench. We know about the Pacers bench. T.J. McConnell, Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, Isaiah Jackson, depending on who plays in this series. Amazing so far in the playoffs. They've been a big X factor as to why the Pacers are even here right now. So I think the Boston bench, Payne Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett until Kristaps Porzingis come back, which probably will be mid-series. Those guys, I'm not saying they have to match the production. I'm not saying they need to come out and have 40 points combined. But I think as long as they come in and be solid, come in and kind of hold it down as the bench unit in their own way, I think they'll be fine. I think big thing for Indiana is going to be their others. Andrew Nemhard, Aaron Nesmith, the bench, guys like Ben Shepherd, Obi Toppin, how well they're going to be able to kind of shoot and score in this series, and how if, Pascal and Tyrese got it going, if those guys see a couple shots go down, Nemhard, Nesmith, then it could blow the game open. And I think Miles Turner is a big X factor as well in this series. Miles Turner has been great so far in the playoffs. Without Porzingis for the first 2 games at least, I think if Miles Turner could come out and kind of, not saying they be like give Al Horford problems, but if they could come out and kind of be the guy he's been so far this playoffs, I think that gives Indiana a huge boost in this series. But I think ultimately for the Pacers, going to have to be their defense. Not saying they're going to have to hold the Celtics to 84 points or anything like that, but I think they're going to have to get stops where they need them to, and in big moments be able to lock in defensively for some parts. Not saying they have to put on a defensive masterclass like the Minnesota Timberwolves, but if they could come out and have little stretches here and there where they can, guard the 3-point line well and not let Tatum and Brown go crazy, I think they'll have a chance to win games in the series. So ultimately, my prediction, I'm going to go Boston in 6. I'm going to give Indiana 2 games just because, again, their offensive firepower, and I think Boston's liable for a game or two where they just kind of, aren't really fully 100% there mentally. And I think Indiana can take advantage of that. So I'm going to go Boston in 6 in this series. So I'll give Indiana a little bit of credit in that regard, but Boston should, especially if Porzingis comes back, Boston should be able to make it to the finals. Now, this series, Minnesota versus Dallas Western Conference Finals, this is going to be something special. At least I'm hoping. I'm really, really hoping this is going to be a special series because it has all the potential in the world to be. Minnesota, they swept the Phoenix Suns in the first round convincingly. Then they took out the reigning champs, the Denver Nuggets, in 7 games. An amazing game 7, down by 20 at one point. Anthony Edwards having a bad game. They find a way, something in them, telling them to keep going. And eventually shots started to fall. The defense started to lock in, and they upset the reigning champs. And now they're in the conference finals for the second time in franchise history. For the Dallas Mavericks, they beat the Clippers in the first round in 6 games, and then they defeat the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games in a crazy game 6. And now they're in the conference finals for the second time in 3 years. So yeah, this has all the potential in the world to be an amazing matchup. And think about it real quick. Anthony Edwards or Luka Doncic are going to be in the NBA Finals this year. One of those guys are going to be in the finals this year. Just showing how the tides are turning, even in the East. Jason Tatum, they have been in the finals before a couple years ago, but he's still only 26 years old. And Tyrese Halliburton, the Pacers, 24. They're whoever makes the finals is going to be a battle of young stars. The final 4 teams left all are led by a young star. No one above the age of Tatum's the oldest one at 26. So, just insane to see how the tides are turning in the NBA right now. And we're seeing the new era come up upon us. Just really crazy to see. But back to the series. This is going to be, I think one reason why I'm saying this can be a special series is because both these teams kind of have the same mentality and attitude in a way. Minnesota is a team that's going to lock in defensively. They have all the confidence, led by Anthony Edwards. They have all the confidence, and they've been able to make it here just because of will and want. They've outwilled, outwanted, outfought the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns just lied down after they're down 15 at one point. Denver, not saying Denver didn't have any fight because they're the reigning champs and they had some big games, especially being down, losing the first two games in Denver to come back and win 3 in a row and be up 3-2. But the last two games, Minnesota just came out and just had the will and had the fight, had the punch that Denver didn't really have. So Minnesota's had that. Dallas is kind of very similar. Dallas has kind of formulated their team into being more of a, instead of having Luke and Kyrie run the show and score 80 and just hope we get a stop here or there, Dallas has become more of a fight, defensive, gritty type of team that's not afraid to muck it up, not afraid to, win a game in the trenches, with PJ Washington, with Gafford, with Lively, with Josh Green. Even they got Kyrie and Luka being in defensive stances. Like that's what they have right now. So I think this is just gonna be this could be a dogfight, and I think whoever can win the dogfight, because both these teams are gonna both these teams have will, are not afraid to fight it out. Whoever can win the dogfight wins the series. I think to me, I think some big factors for both sides. I think it's gonna be interesting for the Dallas Mavericks to see because Dallas has been able to get here based on one of the big things have been the paint. I think the battle of the paint is gonna be interesting. Dallas has not played a team like Minnesota yet that could control the paint with Rudy, with Cat. They haven't played a team with size yet. Against the Clippers, they have Zubac in there. Mason Plumlee lost minutes in the series. They just were able to control the paint and out athlete the Clippers, with the Clippers being one of the older teams as well. Dallas was just able to out athlete the Clippers. OKC a very similar way, where besides Chet Holmgren, OKC is one of the smaller teams, one of the worst rebounding paint teams. So Dallas was just be able to outsize with Gafford, with Washington, with Derek Lively, able to outsize them and just out athlete them, even with Derrick Jones Jr. in ways. Minnesota, it's going to be a lot harder to do that. Minnesota has the size and Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns and Naz Reid. They have the athletes, the big athletes like Jaden McDaniels, like Kyle Anderson off the bench, like Anthony Edwards, obviously. So it's going to be a lot harder to do that with Gafford, with Washington, with Derek Lively. I don't know about Maxi Kleber yet, how he's doing on his injury status, if he's going to be able to come back in this series. That would be a big thing for them. But it's going to be a lot harder for them to out athlete and outsize the Minnesota Timberwolves, which has been a big thing as to why they have gotten here this far. And I think for Minnesota, again, they're kind of opposite, where they have not really been able to play. They haven't been able to play a team that has the same kind of fight and the same will that they've had. I think Minnesota hasn't played a team like that. And it's gonna be interesting to see how Minnesota kind of adjusts to playing a team very similar to them in that regard. And I also think a big thing for Dallas is Luke and Kyrie are gonna have to be Luke and Kyrie in this series. I think with Minnesota's defense, with the way they can kind of control the paint and do all that stuff, Dallas has been able to get away with Luke and Kyrie not having amazing series and still win, which is just a big testament to this Mavericks team in general. Testament to how they've changed their game plan, how great their defense is, and to how great their team is overall now with PJ Washington, with Daniel Gafford, with Derrick Jones Jr., with Derek Lively, with Josh Green. Jaden Hardy's been playing the last couple games. Dante Exum can still give some minutes. Maxi Kleber might be able to come back. So it's just a testament to how great the rest of this team is, that Luke and Kyrie haven't had to really have crazy scoring nights. But I think this is the time now. Whatever they've been saving in the tank or whatever, they're going to have to do it now. Luka can't have games in the series where he has 8 turnovers and 7 field goals made. Kyrie can't have games in the series where he has single-digit points in the series. Because with the way Minnesota can lock in potentially on the others, Luka and Kyrie are going to have some big 30-point. Luka maybe have to have a 40-point night at one point to win games in the series. Because that's how good Minnesota is. And for the Timberwolves, I think they can win the series if they win the hustle and defensive stats. If they can win the rebounding battle, the blocks and steals battle, the extra possessions. I think if Minnesota can lock in on the little things like that and win those battles, I think they can win this series. Because Dallas is a team that likes to do the little things. They've gotten guys to be able to do the little things. So if Minnesota can do that and win the battle of the other things that don't show up in the stat sheet, I think Minnesota has a good chance in the series. My prediction, ultimately, I'm going Minnesota in 7, even though I just want to just give me an amazing series at this. Give me an amazing series. I think whoever wins this series, I wouldn't mind seeing. Luke and Anthony Edwards are two of my favorite players in the league, two amazing young stars. So whoever gets a finals appearance, I wouldn't be mad at either. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just want an amazing series because I think this can live up and be an amazing series. That's all I really want. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.